Okay, so this is day 6, I guess. I've got a bit of a checklist this time because, I don't know, I felt like making a list. So, anyway, um, first point on the list is to explain the current toggle button behavior and then also change it. Yeah, so what I worked on um, yesterday, and I didn't really have time to explain it, was this toggle button. And I wanted to make it kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen one of those buttons on a real device where you click it in and it oh sorry, I gotta change this device to the simulator. But yeah, where you click it in and it stays in and then you click it again and it pops back out. I kind of wanted to have that effect with the pause and resume button here. But and I think I've simulated that effect, but there's a little problem, and that's that it's basically just way too subtle. You can't really tell that it's doing that, and it makes it kind of, yeah, difficult to use the app because you don't know what's actually like it's basically just, yeah, a very subtle effect. So you can see it if you look close. When I click it in, you see it's clicked in, and then if I click it again, it's yeah. If I make it even bigger, you might be able to see it better. There we go. So let's just move that over. Yeah, so you can see it's clicked in and it's slightly smaller and the shadow's a lot less, and then you can click it again and it pops back out. But yeah, I think the effect on a normal sized phone screen, yeah, it's just too subtle to really be a good effect, and it kind of, you just kind of look at it and go, oh, that looks kind of weird. Why is that? And you can't really tell. It's not a great effect. So yeah, that's basically the current behavior. So I can check that off my list. Explain it. Cool. Actually, no, I can't, because part of explaining it is changing it. So yeah, anyway, I've explained it, and what I'm hoping to change it to is to make it basically just like this button, except that when you click on it, the word changes and it pops back out to the full shadow and the full size and everything. But yeah, the word changes, and that should hopefully not take long. So just going to be a short little time lapse. Enjoy. Okay, so I think that I've got that sorted. Um, yeah, a couple of interesting things I noticed. Uh, with this touch as ended thing, I tried putting calling to the override, the overrided one, the touch as ended, because if I don't call this, here I'll show you. If I don't call super.touch as ended, which basically references whatever touch as ended was before I overrided it with this new function, that the override here. So it calls the original one. If I don't call that, then the button just stays in. It doesn't come out. And I was like, okay, well, obviously I need to call the super then, because that's obviously doing something to do with making the button pop back out. So yeah, if I call the super at the start, like you normally do when you override a function, then I press it and it pops back out, but it doesn't change the title. And so I was trying to figure out why that was, because it was working just a second ago. Well, it's to do with this is touch inside. So if I get rid of this, obviously that'll work. So if I, yeah, wait for it to load. Yeah, if I click there, it'll work. But it also, yeah, when the touch ends, because, so you can see when I let go of the click there, even though it's not on the button, it still changes it. So I do need to test if the touch is still inside the button. But yeah, I guess the way that is touch inside is calculated only, whatever, calling the super.touch as ended cancels that that touch being inside, because obviously then once touch is ended is called, the touch is no longer touching the display, so I guess it's no longer inside. So what I have to do is just put this call to the super down below. So once it checks if the touch is inside, and if the touch is inside, then yeah, that works, and then it ends the touches, which then obviously turns touches inside off, regardless of whether the finger is still on the button or somewhere else on the screen. So yeah, there you go. That's just an interesting thing there. And yeah, there's another little thing I used here, which is a really neat way to slim down your programming, is instead of having a big if on statement, so if on, then set title to, oh, that's title color. Wait, hang on. Set title to on text, and then for dot normal, and then you have the same for, you have an else here. That's got 2 brackets. That doesn't need 2 brackets. Yeah, else. So that means if it's off, then set the title to off text. Yeah, instead of having all of that, I can slim that down into one line here with this little statement here, the little question mark, basically tests if this is true. So whether it was 1 equals 1 or on or off, whichever one, if that value there is true, then it will do whatever's on this side of the little colon there. And if it's false, then it does whatever's on the other side. So basically, it's a really simple way of slimming this down into one line and making it nice and neat like that. I really like this little thing. Yeah, so when I've done all of this, then it works, and you can click it, and it turns into the other title. And if I put on slow animations, you can see it changes right as, although I don't think the slow actually affects this, but yeah, it changes right as you let go of the thing, and then the button pops back out with the new text on it. Yeah, so maybe at some point, actually, I'm going to put that in a note up here. To do. Yeah, I'm going to make it a note to make the changing from pause to resume the text have a little animation. Changing text should have a simple animation rather than just suddenly being the different text. I kind of want to have it, fade together or something like that. I'm sure I can work something out. Yeah, so that's a little to do there. But yeah, I think that counts now as being able to check this off the checklist. So, done. Next is to create a button view controller. So I was talking about before how all of these views in here, they had their own view class. But what I actually want is for them to have their own view controller class, because you can do a lot more with a view controller than you can do with a view. So yeah, what I'm going to actually do is turn these into a container view, because a container view can have a view controller embedded in it, like I've got with the background color thing. That's a view controller here, color view controller, and it's embedded in the background. So if I get a container view, I'm just going to search it. Container view, there we go. Defines a region of a view controller that can include a child view controller, which is what I want. So I'm going to put that inside that. There it is. And you can see there it is. So yeah, basically this is going to replace the view that has the buttons in it there. I just need to resize it and everything, so I'll do that quickly in a time lapse, I think. Yeah, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I've done a lot of work, but yeah, I haven't quite got it working yet. For some reason, it's just not showing the buttons up. So I don't know, but anyway, yeah, there's a lot of work, a lot of stuff that's going on here. So yeah, I'll explain it when I've got it working. But yeah, I've got to go for now. So yeah, hopefully I'll be back a bit later and I can finish off that and explain how it all works. Okay. Oof, it's been a long day. And also my microphone's changed sides and I changed clothes and other things. Yeah, so I've done a lot of work. It's yeah, it's been a while, but I didn't end up finishing off this recording thing, so I'm just gonna leave it all inside one day video. So that's fun. But yeah, I got some things to talk about now. So I've been doing some work with the design. I've created all the different view controllers and everything. I've done some programming work with them, but I'll just do some talking about the design right now because that's kind of what I'm thinking the most about at the moment. Yeah, so here you can see I've got kind of a few options of different button things that I did. So I tried having the buttons look more subtle because basically I just wasn't happy with them. They just didn't look quite right. They didn't look modern and they looked kind of too overcomplicated having the, white background and then black writing or black background and white writing or whatever. There were too many colors. I really wanted just having two colors and, keep it that simple. But yeah, the shadow kind of adds the black to it. And then if you have a white background, then you need, black writing so that it can show on there. Or potentially, I guess, the same color as the background writing, but that didn't show up very well. I did do that as a test, but yeah. Anyway, so you can see I've got kind of three different brightnesses here if I just go through them. So I tried having it basically just the same as the background, just a tiny bit brighter, so you could see that it was raised. But yeah, I didn't really like any of those. And yeah, I tried it on here as well. And then yeah, I tried it with a darker color as well. This is just using a UI blur view and setting the style to dark. And then yeah, I don't know. So then I was just doing some mock-ups on my phone drawing. So this is my beautiful start button and what it would look like if it was the same color as the background and it didn't have a shadow, because I thought that might actually help make it look a lot more minimal. Because yeah, the kind of style direction that fashion has been going in, or I guess fashion in terms of app design has been going in, is getting less realistic, more technology, less skeuomorphism. So skeuomorphism, if I search that up, I'll just search iOS 6 and you'll be able to see the big difference between there you go. Here's a comparison of iOS 6 and iOS 9. So you can see on this one, I'm pointing at the screen. You can't see me pointing at the screen, but I'll use my cursor. So yeah, here you can see all the icons are very realistic, kind of 3D, and there's quite a heavy shadow under them. And you can see the dock here is reflective, and it's got shadows on the outside of it, and it is 3D going back into the phone. There's a lot of stuff like that, and that was the real modern style back then. And yeah, now what's changed, and this is just iOS 9, but it's actually been progressively getting more and more minimal. So yeah, you can see here that all the icons are very flat. So comparing the weather one where it's got that very clear, or they all have the very clear little circle on them to show that they're reflective and 3D. That's all gone, and yeah, everything's just a lot simpler here. And I think that's and the other thing is things aren't exactly what they are. It's kind of abstracted. So here with the camera, right, that is basically what the camera actually looks like on the back of the phone there. And then with this one, it's a more iconized version of a camera, and so it's kind of more abstracted there. And yeah, same with reminders, it's just abstract little color dots rather than actual check marks like it used to be. So things like that are that's kind of the style change that is happening at the moment. And yeah, one of the big things that has disappeared is shadows, and basically the only shadow, if I go iOS 12 maps, let's see, or iOS 11 maps, I guess. Yeah, basically the only bits of shadow are where you've got floating elements like this. So if I, or if this would load, that would be nice. But yeah, you can kind of see there's a bit of a shadow behind those buttons there that are hovering over the content, and there's a little bit of shadow. Oh, there you go. It's in focus. And yeah, there's a little bit of shadow on this menu here, and that's about the extent of shadow. Buttons are, so if I go iOS 11 button, I don't know if that'll come up. Yeah, so you can see that's kind of, a simple button. It's basically just a button. When you tap on it, it gets a little bit lighter. It doesn't change size or anything because that's a realism thing, and we're moving away from realism. That's the style change. So that's what I was thinking. Instead of having these shadows in here, to make it actually look more modern and minimalistic, it needs to move in that same way. It needs to not have shadows, and it needs to not change size. It needs to be technical, technology, and not realism, actually imitating a real life button. And so I came up with this concept here, and I made a keynote thing to demonstrate it, which is a great way to actually prototype things. Now, I don't know how this is going to show up in the recording, so I don't know. Hopefully this does show up. Otherwise, I can just put it in post or something. But yeah, anyway, you can see there's the start button here, and when you click on it, it kind of fills in white like that. With the pause button, when it's paused, it stays white. You click it again, it goes back off. Yeah, really nice. And then click the stop button, and it stops like that. So basically, that's my simple little mock-up of what the buttons could look like. And I think that looks so much more modern than the other buttons with the shadows and everything. And I think it really adds a lot to the, minimal feeling of the app. So even though, yeah, there's, obviously some extra stuff, having a border around that adds an extra color change and a lot of lines, it actually does look more minimal than this one here. I keep pointing at the screen. I don't know why I keep pointing at the screen. Anyway, yeah, so that's basically where I'm at with my thinking right now. And I think this will hopefully be pretty easy to implement as well. Yeah, because it's pretty simple, really. It's, you can add a border to a UI view real easy. And adding the blur view and stuff, that was kind of using a lot of code, if I bring that up. Yeah, that was actually required quite a bit of look at all these lines just to insert this blur view and have it, and then this is a vibrancy, trying to insert the vibrancy view as well, and it's just, it's a bit over the top. So hopefully that will slim down the code as well, and I won't need any of the size changing animations in here. Yeah, so there are a lot of changes with the code that I've gone through, and I can't remember exactly where I was up to in the last video. But yeah, I'll have to I'll have to watch that again and figure out what that was, and then I'll make another video, I'll start a new day, which I probably should have in the first place, but I'll start a new day and explain what's actually happened code-wise, because there's a lot that's changed as far as all the app goes. With simplicity and stuff, I've slimmed it down and split some files up yeah, there's stuff. And yeah, I'll explain that at some point. So yeah, anyway, for now, I think that's kind of got you up to speed a bit on the important stuff, because the important stuff is really just where the design's going at the moment. That's what I'm trying to figure out before I get too far into being decided with all the buttons and making them all look how they do. So yeah, design stuff gonna look a lot more minimal. That's the plan. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.